On today's episode of the Going Deeper podcast, we are talking about anger. What's up, Fathom Church? Welcome to the Going Deeper podcast. This is your host, Kyle Knight, and these are episodes we like to discuss a topic or maybe even a sermon and go deeper into it, hopefully to help you go deeper in your relationship with God. I'm in our podcast studio with our missions minister, Karina Bost. Hello, Karina.
Hello.
And lead pastor, Chris Martin. Hello, Chris.
Greetings.
Well, okay, sure, fine. I was going to just be very critical of how you greeted us, but greetings is fine, I guess. Wasn't Spanish.
Don't get angry,
though.
Kyle.
Yeah, I'm getting so angry
I'm sensing some hot anger over here.
Can I start with how angry I get with all your greetings?
You may. I think it's sinful
really
the way
angry.
that you're being angry right now. So.
Yeah, it is. I love your greetings and I appreciate them so much, boss.
You are a liar and the truth is not in you.
Okay. Hey, we're talking about anger today. Let me ask you guys this first question. I want to toss it to you guys. When was the last time you got really angry? And what was it towards? What was it for? The last time you got real angry?
I get angry so much. It's always at dumb things.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time it's my dogs.
Oh, yep.
Just, I don't know why I think that animals, even though they're trained animals, should behave perfectly all the time.
Well-behaved dog.
Well, I know, but like when they don't, I'm just like, whoa. So yeah, I just get angry all the time at dumb stuff.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm trying to fix something and I can't fix it, I get real frustrated and angry. I feel like the unsanctified version of myself is probably got some rage issues.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
I can't.
Fair.
I mean, it's not that I definitely get angry, but I'm just having a hard time thinking of the last time.
You never get angry.
I do get angry. One of my children that will not be named definitely knows.
Let's guess.
Which one is it? They don't know when to stop. They cross the line and then they just dig deep. And so,
I bet I know who it is.
if you know my kids, it probably wouldn't be a hard stretch to guess that
We
one.
won't name drop on this podcast.
No way. No
We won't
way.
do that.
They know which one they are also, so they wouldn't be surprised.
I get angry at really dumb things too. Like my dog, who is not well trained.
Okay.
But for really dumb things like shedding, which it's like
your dog is willing.
Like, how dare you leave that pile of hair there?
As if she can control
As if
herself.
she can
Yes.
control it. Yeah. I get angry as a parent at my kids all the time. Over, again, dumb little things. I get angry at sports teams all the time. And I'll say this, one thing that I got, and maybe not a dumb thing, but I got actually angry about recently was, and I won't get into like details, but like how my wife was treated at her work. That always sets me off.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Hearing a lot of stories from, especially my wife being a teacher and at school and everything like that. And just, it's hard. That's been a pattern in our marriage, even from when we just first got married. And my wife has worked in a lot of different schools and some of them very difficult schools. That has always been a point of tension with us, but anger with me of just the stories I hear and specifically how she is treated. And I don't like that. And I get angry. I get angry at that. But that's why we want to talk about anger. So maybe you're like us and you get angry at your dog or your kids or whatever it is. We kind of want to talk about what anger is and how that kind of relates to God and God's character, but also like how we see anger biblically. And again, I always, whenever I think about this, I'm always thinking of the big question is getting angry a sin? Or is it what you do with that anger? And so we're going to look biblically at what anger is and what could be some underlying things, some underlying issues in our lives that is producing some of this anger. And hey, maybe you're not an angry person and kudos to you. But we all get angry about
We're
things.
angry at you for not being angry.
We are so angry.
That
at
makes
you.
me so angry.
Don't tell us that you're not an angry person because I will get angry. But yeah, Chris, let me throw it to you first. Like, how would you describe what anger is?
Yeah, it's an emotion. That's what I would say first off the bat. Like, anger is it's a response. It's an emotion that I think is completely normal, completely natural, completely human, right? Anytime that you perceive something is wrong or unjust or broken or just it's not lining up the way that you expect, loss even. If you feel those things, often the result is this tension, anxiety, angst, or anger that you might, feel. And then how you express that becomes a whole nother thing. But I would start by saying it's a feeling. I don't know. What do you think? What do you think, Karina?
Well, I thought it was a little red guy that lived in the control center of my brain.
Yes. Man, those movies are great.
Yeah.
The Inside Out movies are so good at like
good.
helping us think through those kinds of emotions. So it is, it's an emotion.
It's an emotion.
Yeah.
It's an emotion. Okay. I want to get this question out there off the bat because this is going to bring us into the Bible, into the text. So knowing that anger is that emotion, is anger a sin? Is being angry a sin or is it not? Like, we know kind of what anger is, what is it not? And is getting angry a sin, Pastor?
No.
Why not?
Because you cannot control what you feel. So no, anger is not a sin. I tell this to my daughter as she was growing up and as she is growing up, that we cannot control how we feel about things, but we can always control what we do. Right. So like which sounds like something you'd say to a 6-year-old, but that's pretty unfortunately what we need to hear as adults too. You can't control how you feel. Yeah, and so you feel anger at something, whether that's justified or unjustified, the feeling itself is not sin. Feeling anger is not sin. So I've heard it put like anger is a signal and what we do with it may or may not be sinful. So like it's the signal, it's the dashboard light. It's it's just telling you, my interpretation of what's going on, there's something not right here. And then how we respond then to the emotion of anger is whether it becomes sinful or not sinful. But if you could, like, if feelings are sinful, then we are in big trouble. I mean, we're already in big trouble, but you can't control how you feel. Sometimes you just wake up and you feel angry, and it's like, am I just sinning as I'm feeling? Like, no. You kick your dog. That's right. Sin. That is a sinful outworking of anger, but there's a big difference there. So I would just blatantly say to be angry is not to sin.
Good.
That's how I'd start.
That's good. So what is Karina, what have you found? Like, what does the Bible say about anger? Where do we see kind of anger pop up? Whether it's there are, as we're talking about an emotion, I mean, we see Jesus displaying kind of this righteous anger at times when he is again feeling that emotion of being frustrated or upset. What are some other places that we see anger talked about in the Bible?
Well, I just did a search and like the verses were so endless. There were so many verses about anger. So I'm not going to read them all. You're welcome.
It's okay. You can pick your favorite ones.
But one that really stuck out to me was James 1:20, that human anger does not produce the righteousness God desires. And that's the thing is anger isn't a sin. And we even see, Jesus was angry when they kept the children from coming to him. He was angry when there was shops set up in the Gentile courts of the temple. And so the Gentiles couldn't come worship. Like there were points where he was angry, but that his anger is righteous. But that one just stuck out to me, that human anger does not produce the righteousness. Yeah.
No, I think that's good. So that, I mean, I have that verse written down too. And that makes me think, okay, human anger, then somehow we have to have like godly anger or something like that. It's part of this kind of came into my head, Chris, as you were in our Exodus series, as you were just preaching. And it makes me, when we talk about anger and we talk about emotions, and whether it's good anger or it's like justified anger, or in this case we hear like righteous anger or whatever it is. But in our Exodus series, we just talked about we're getting to the 10th plague, right? And so we have God who has been kind of warning Pharaoh this entire time, and we saw in the past already about how Pharaoh and the Egyptians had discarded babies into the Nile. And now God is saying, okay, well, really, because of that, the last plague is going to be killing the firstborn. So when we see that kind of anger as maybe like God's righteous anger, what is the difference between what we see in James 1:20 of man's anger and God's anger? And what is this righteousness of God that is talking about how this anger does not produce?
Yeah. So this, I mean, can be tricky, right? So there is a righteous, godly anger, like not just Jesus, but like God the Father. God the Father is angry at sin, right? He does not, he is angry at that. He is angry at the oppression of his people, as we saw in Exodus. Even in the prophets, he hates the way that Israel has perverted their worship. Like, I hate your feasts, I hate your festivals. Like he's angry, we might say, at that. So it is an emotion. It's a communicable emotion, right? So it's something that God has, but that we can also have. And so then we can have anger that is probably what we would consider righteous or godly anger, or then we can have unrighteous anger as well. The way that I would think about that for a human is to ask, like I wrote down, righteous anger is always restrained, purposeful, and never self-serving. So it's restrained in that it does not explode. You've heard of like explosive anger or rage or something like that. No, it's restrained. It's controlled. Okay. It's purposeful. So it's not like I'm just angry at my dog because it's not going my way, or like right. No, it's purposeful in that. So a parent might have anger towards a friend that their child that's kind of leading their child down some sketchy paths. And you might be angry that friend of your kid is doing that because there's a purpose as a parent that you want your child to be raised and to be healthy and to be happy and to be successful, or whatever it might be. And when there's anything that might rob them of that, you can feel a justified anger towards that. It's purposeful. But then also it's never self-serving. And that's where I get in trouble, is most of the time when I get angry, it's like, why isn't this car in front of me going fast enough? Don't they know I need to be somewhere? Like, it's selfish. It's self-serving. It's, I should be at the center of the universe and everything around me should work according to my plan and my sovereign will, or else you're going to feel the wrath of Chris. Well, that's selfish. So righteous anger is it's always restrained. It's always purposeful, and it never is self-serving. As opposed to what most of my anger is, which is basically inconveniences that just make me ticked. So I don't know. That's kind of how I'm thinking about the difference between righteous and unrighteous anger. So
yeah, and I feel like so that purposeful piece of all of those three, I think, kind of hits me, because I think that I do feel like that one might be the one that where we can make excuses on like what is purposeful and what's not. Like I so many times in my life, when I get angry over dumb things, I think it's like I can justify that there's a good reason for me to be angry. And that restrained piece I think is key, because again, we're talking about an emotion. We're talking about it is okay to have anger and to feel angry, but to kind of control that. Karina, what happens when we don't have this righteous anger, when we don't restrain our anger or have it purposeful, or if it does begin to be self-serving, what does that kind of look like in our lives then?
Well, I read this article as I was prepping by John Bloom, and he said that kind of anger actually alienates us from God, because it produces the opposite of the fruits of the Spirit. You know, it produces pity and like deception and anger, which you know, likes all the things. So those things can start affecting your relationships. It can start affecting your job. It can start affecting the kind of person that you think you are. Anger can lead to a lot of like other more sinful actions.
And I think that's the key piece is, like right when we started, we said like anger itself isn't inherently sinful. It isn't bad because it's an emotion. But, and I feel like this is like, we say this a lot about on our podcast about different topics. It's like, but it can lead to sin. It is powerful and it is dangerous at times, depending on what we do with it, or how we handle it, whatever comes next.
Yeah. Think about it like this, like anger is maybe the root, but the fruit that grows from anger that's left unaddressed, that's unrighteous anger, is real ugly. It's real bad. So like you can have anger and then it can start growing into bitterness.
Right.
And bitterness is ugly. It's gross. We're like, we don't want that. You can start with anger and it can manifest and start growing fruit of harsh speech.
Yeah.
Right. Where you start saying things that are, I mean, that's where mine shows up. I'm like, wouldn't have, you know, I can feel it. And it just starts to bubble out of my mouth, which again, the scripture says out of the overflow of the heart, the mouth speaks. So, oh, dang it. Like there's my anger showing up in my speech, or it starts as just anger, but it starts to move into vengeance, you know, like, oh, I'm angry at that person because they did this. And so I'm just going to do this on the, you know, and you can punish and you can seek vengeance, even if it's not like you can wish vengeance on people. Even. Like there's some of that. And then anger can really be detrimental to relationships. I mean, there's damage for relationships, and those fruits that kind of grow out of anger. This is where it's very powerful and scary and dangerous. Because if you leave it unaddressed, that emotion, and you don't work through it, it can really lead to some unhealthy places.
Yeah, Psalms 37:8 says, "Stop being angry, turn from your rage, don't lose your temper. It only leads to harm." And so, yeah, it just all bad fruit.
Well, and I think that's good. Again, as we were talking about, there is such thing as righteous anger, justified anger, feeling that emotion. But can you read that again? That first part, especially.
Stop being angry. Turn from your rage.
Turn from your rage. Yeah, turn from your rage. That's where it's like, it's not the righteous anger. It's like stop being angry, turn from your rage. Like that anger has become rage. That's what you turn from.
The illustration I like to think about is, most cars have what's called like a governor on the speed. So you can only get so fast before the governor kicks in and it slows back down. So like, it's like 100 miles an hour. And then it's, oh my gosh, it slows you back down. Newer cars have governors.
I hit that every day.
Yeah. I mean, you hit that in school zones mostly. Right. So,
no,
but think about it. Like your anger needs a governor.
Yeah.
Like your anger needs something that's going to slow it down. And that is where the fruit of the Spirit really do show up. Right. So like, self-control should be a governor for your anger. Exercising wisdom should be a governor for your anger. Patience is a governor for your anger. Like all of these things you start to feel it building up and it's ramping up and you're increasing in speed. And then that governor kicks in. If you've got some of that stuff in your life, like those healthy things in your life, they're going to diminish that. They're going to bring that back down, dial it back a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so before we get into like maybe just a few practical things like that, if we are struggling with this type of anger, like the type of anger that produces rage and produces these sinful acts, there's got to be some underlying issues with anger. Like where is it coming from? What's deeper? Karina, what are some things that, if we are struggling with this, as we examine ourselves, what are some things that might be underlying issues that are leading us to these, to feeling of this rage or this type of anger?
Yeah, and I think this is where anger is kind of different than of a lot of other sin patterns, because like Chris said, anger is a natural human response and we can't control it. But how we respond to that, I think, is kind of the underlying issues. And so I think, it does kind of come back to the fruits of the Spirit. It just seems the opposite. And how do we get to the place where the fruit of the Spirit is evident or can tamper, or what was the word you use? Govern.
Yeah. It becomes that limiter almost.
Yeah. Is the practice, is the growth of the fruit of the Spirit in your life. And that comes through prayer and reading your Bible, spending time with God, being in community with other believers, those sorts of things.
Yeah. This is Ephesians 4. This is the other, real famous anger verse, but Ephesians 4:26, be angry and do not sin. Do not let the sun go down on your anger. And give no opportunity to the devil. So it says, be angry. Like, it's okay.
Yep.
Be angry.
Yep.
And don't sin.
Don't sin.
Right. So like that's
the second piece of that.
That's that governor. That's that governor. That's that practice of, okay, like what are you going to do? So you can't avoid getting angry. Like no human can be like, well, I'm never going to get angry again. I am, resolving in 2026, no anger in my life. It's like, well, you should be angry at yourself because that's dumb.
Angry.
Okay. Yeah. You cannot help but be angry. You can help sin, right? Like you can't not be angry. You don't have to sin. Yeah. And so, okay, so what are the things that you are going to do to slow it down, to pull it back, to exercise the fruit of the Spirit?
I think asking questions too, like, how do I get angry? Is it with my words?
Yeah.
Is it with acts of violence? Like whatever it is. Because I think sometimes you're not really sure how you're responding to anger. And then if you sit down and like, how am I responding to anger? It helps you be aware. So next time, like, oh, I'm really going to try harder to watch my words, or at least find your community to keep you accountable. Like,
yeah, I think examining as you're talking about the tree, like examining the root of the problem. It's like, especially if you're one that continues to get angry, and man, after one day you're sitting there going like, why am I this whole day I felt like I was angry. It's like, there's got to be something as the root of the problem, whether it's control or pride or things like that are really eating at you, and it comes out as anger and it comes out as rage or whatever like that. I think examining the root of that problem of why am I really angry?
Sure. Well, and also some people might push back and be like, no, I'm angry because I'm a justice person.
Right.
Like I'm wired around justice. And I would say, sure, I think that's probable for some, that like they just have like a natural kind of angst around injustice, and they feel like I've got to stand for truth. I've got to, I just kind of, whatever it might be. Okay. But I would even ask the question, that deeper question of a person like that, to say, who are you really trying to defend in those moments? Like, are you actually standing for truth and are trying to defend the Lord and his honor and his glory? Or are you trying to defend you? Because I think, and again, they might be getting angry at me as I'm saying these things, but I think a lot of times our motives are pretty mixed. Are pretty mixed. And we like to be right as much as we like being in the right, And I want you to be in the right, but that doesn't mean that you've got to be right all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So again, it's what's underneath, what's going on inside. That really does matter.
Mm-hmm.
It really does matter.
And to speak to your point, the article that I read by John Bloom, he was saying that that righteous anger actually bears righteous fruit. So it leads you to love and justice and truth. And so I think that's like one of those points of like, what justice are you really seeking? Is it some like disservice you feel for yourself, or is it true like unjust things that we see from Scripture?
Yeah, you'll know afterwards if that is produced fruit, like righteous fruit, or if it's that self-serving piece. I do think this is probably one of the easiest emotions that I think the devil uses against us and uses to produce that bad fruit, or to tweak your, whether you think it's justified anger just a little bit and it becomes selfish anger, or it becomes unrestrained or whatever like that. Again, this is one of those things that's like, it's okay, but can be very dangerous.
Sure.
I mean, we see things happen in our world all the time that stem from hate and anger and all this kind of stuff, because it's what people have done without examining themselves, and they've actually acted upon whatever sinful thing has come out of anger. Any other good kind of good applications, good things for us to kind of think about or put into practice as we're trying to kind of tame this anger, make sure it's not coming out of our mouths as unrighteous, but trying to be slow to anger. Anything else that you guys can think of that are good applicable things for us today if we are struggling with this?
You have something?
Well, I was going to say, if you have severe anger issues, it might be worth seeing a counselor,
For sure.
because I think they are given a tool set to help with that you might not be able to overcome on your own.
That's good. Yes.
Yeah, application with anger really is tailored for the individual. I'll give you 2 examples that are the polar opposites, okay? And actually they both work for me, so this is why I probably need help, okay? Sometimes I just need to slow it all down. Like I got to take a deep breath, and sometimes I've heard people say like, seek to respond, not to react. Like responding is better than reacting. I don't know if that's parsing terms, but sometimes I just need, like, my first initial emotion is anger, and my first response is like, to react with anger and rage and violent words or whatever it might be, and so sometimes you got to slow it down, take a deep breath, wait for yourself to calm down, let the dust settle, maybe chat with somebody, whatever. Sometimes that's the way to handle anger and that emotion. Other times, now this is me too, okay? I'll get angry, and then I'll be like, I need to take a minute, and I'll like go mow my grass, and I'll cut my lawn, and in my mind, I'll be fighting against the person I'm angry with, and I'll work myself up into more anger as I'm cutting my grass, and I'm just like, so because it's like, because I'm fighting, I'm fighting the worst version of them in my head and the best version of me, and I'm like counterpoint, and so you need to know yourself to know, like, am I working myself into a frenzy over this? Because I tell you this much, I've received emails and I've looked at the timestamp on emails, and if it says 2 a.m, my hunch is it's not coming from a place of like centered holiness. Like seriously, I've gotten emails from people who are like, you said this, and it's like, oh, you've been thinking about this and you can't sleep because of this, and so you're working yourself into a frenzy, as opposed to like working it out. So I think you need to know yourself and the situation, and you need to know, do I need to talk this out right now? Do I need to take a couple of deep breaths, and do I need to process this with somebody who's trusted? I'd be really like, exercising wisdom in anger is really important. But then I would also I'm just throwing all these caveats out in there.
It's okay.
Be careful about gossip about when it comes to this, because a lot of Christians love to seek wise counsel. They'll put like that tag on it, when it really is just an excuse to gossip about somebody they're angry about. So be careful about who you talk to these things about. how you process these things?
Mm-hmm.
Are you just trying to find affirmation that's only going to solidify your anger at something or somebody? I mean, this is tricky stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's tricky stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I do think community is an essential piece of trying to work through this, though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. And even as you're talking, Chris, it brings me back to that Ephesians 4 piece that after the little piece you said, and you read it, it's everybody's favorite premarital verse of don't let the sun go down on your anger. That it's like, oh, don't have a fight and then don't pursue reconciliation and just go to
that's
bed.
where those 2 a.m. emails come from.
That's where
Just letting the sun go down.
But again, it's like, sometimes you need some time and you need some space, and sometimes you need to just pursue reconciliation and especially when it's with somebody else or a spouse or somebody, and so your anger doesn't fester and spin in your head and become something more. And so church, if you're struggling with this, man, come and talk to us. But even like Karina said, if this is a bigger issue, if you have anger issues, like I feel like that's kind of the buzzword. If you have anger issues, like seek some help, seek some guidance, seek some wisdom, like Pastor Chris said. But yeah, there's this is a thing that can become dangerous for sure. And we just want to always be aware of it and be talking about it and to be here to help you through these things. So thank you guys for this conversation. Really appreciate it. Thank you, church, for listening, and we'll catch you next time.